And we're on. Hi, welcome to this new group. My name is Jason Whitman. I'm a certified counselor and a long-term life coach. And I'd like to welcome you here. And I think to start off, I'm just going to talk a little about me and what I have in mind here, and we can go on from there. So to begin with, I've been working in the recovery field since I started my first therapeutic community for drug addicts in the early 70s while I was still a grad student at Cornell in counseling psychology. And I have been a life coach since the early 80s. And actually, I just celebrated 43 years of no goodies, no mind-altering goodies. So not only do I talk the talk, but I walk the walk. And when I'm suggesting something that would have this little other part of me that sits on my shoulder and whispers sweet things in my ear, says, "That was interesting, really great advice. Do you do that?" If the answer is no, then I know there's some more walk that I need to do. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. I have some interesting slants on recovery that as I get questions from y'all, I will let you know about. I don't get any questions. I just might sit here and pontificate a little bit. But maybe a little about Ernie Larson. What he said in this book, which made an awful lot of sense to me, was that what happens, most people who get into recovery, they started using maybe teens, late teens, early 20s. Even before they were using, they probably weren't paying much attention to the trainings and coachings and parenting of their parents. So as soon as they started using alcohol and drugs, that's when their emotional maturity stopped. That's where any learning on social graces and social things and how to deal with people, and especially self-esteem, that's where that stuff stopped. So then move ahead 10, 15, 20 or more years, and person gets clean and sober. Well, the minute they stop using, now they're at the starting line of life, but they're lying down at the starting line of life. And once they've gone through the steps and they've cleaned out their inside and they're starting to getting out of rehabs and starting to look at the rest of their life, now they're still at the starting line of life, needing to run the race, but with very, very few tools because they didn't get them as a kid or along the way. So tools like self-esteem, maybe self-confidence, although they could have lots of self-confidence, and that's a subject that I'll talk more on sometime. Social graces, how do you date, how do you have relationships, all of those things are stuff that they never learned. So in this little book, he goes through a lot of this stuff, and it was useful to me when I first got started. And And actually, it has been so useful, and I have added to it with my studies and with my experience on the program and all of that, that my private practice is called, you guessed it, stage2recovery.com. And because I've realized that most of what I ever did when I was counseling or coaching, especially for recovering people, was teaching life skills and coaching people as they started applying those skills. And that's what is really missing from most recovery programs. Most programs, residential programs or IOPs, deal with the first three steps and sort of tell people they ought to get some help from their sponsor. And the sponsor teaches the steps. And still, that's all the stuff necessary to get to the starting line of life. So what happens after that? A lot of times people will ask sponsors for this other information, and they can do some of that, but that's not their specialty. Sponsor's specialty is teaching how to work the steps and apply the steps in life. So that's what I do. And I find that's really useful. And I hope in this group that people can ask those questions, and I will do my best to answer them. And we can move on from there. So I hope that's a little bit without me rambling on for very, very long. That would be useful to know what you're in for if you join me on a regular basis. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.